Good afternoon, and welcome to STEM NOLA at Home Thursday. Thank you all for tuning in once again. This is going really well. You all must be telling your friends about the activities you're doing because our numbers are growing and we appreciate that. My name is Dr. Calvin Mackey of STEM NOLA, and again, welcome. We got an exciting day planned. We have one of our former students going to be teaching a lesson around circuits. Y'all going to make some edible circuits. I can't handle the sweets. I would have eaten them already. You're going to make like a popsicle, a flashlight, and you're going to understand how circuits work and how electrons flow. So that's always good. At STEM NOLA, we want to make sure that you have a basic understanding of the world around you and realize that everything around us is STEM. And when you go outside or when you look in your house, everything that's been made, everything that's been produced, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics have touched it in some shape, form, or fashion. Parents, in the 21st century, our children would have only one or three options. Either they're going to take something, break something, end or make something. And if we don't give them the skills to make something, like make a living, make a life, make a difference, that only leaves them with the two options that we see on the news every night. And we don't want that for any of our children. So thank you for exposing your scholar to the possibilities of the 21st century. And I just want to say, we started this years ago, 6, 7 years ago in our garage with my son, Miles, who's now graduating from high school. And Miles is getting scholarships to some of the best engineering schools in the country. But Miles got this hands-on thing down. When he got into school and he started talking with the teachers, he had a basic understanding of basic phenomena. And that led into his ability to understand the mathematics and understand the physics, and has really propelled him. And that's why we do what we do, because we believe that if all kids get that type of foundation, they'll have the similar results. I had a conversation the other day with the CEO of one of the major robotic builders in America. And he was telling me about how COVID has accelerated automation, how more and more companies are calling and trying to figure out, hey, how can we automate our processes so that we don't be so dependent on humans or on the situations that humans may find themselves in, like a pandemic. Your competition in the 21st century will be the automatic machine. Either we're training ourselves from the neck up or we're training ourselves from the neck down. And if we're training ourselves from the neck down, if we think we're going to do physical work in the future, I want you to know that the automatic machine will be your competition. I have before me here my friend Alpha. Alpha is a humanoid. A humanoid is a robot that tries to act like a human. Alpha can do all type of motions just like a human. Alpha can do push-ups. Alpha can show off just like you. Alpha takes his time getting up like me. And Alpha can dance just like you. Change it up, Alpha. That's Alpha. I love to see Alpha dance. We're trying to program Alpha to roll over and flip over, but the point is that our tech specialist is standing over there, and he has coded, that's the word these days, coded Alpha using Python, C++, and Scratch, whichever language he decided, and he's controlling Alpha with his cell phone using Bluetooth. That's what the world is going to. You have the power of the universe right here in your hand and your cell phones. And that is the Internet of Things that we are talking about. How do these sensors, how do these machines talk together? And more importantly, how do we fit in? At its core, when you look at this robot, at its core of automation is a basic unit. And that basic unit is called the circuit. And that's why we're introducing you to the circuit today. And we're looking forward to y'all having a great session. Now, next up, I want to acknowledge some of the students who sent in pictures. Remember, send us pictures. We're trying to program Alpha to roll over and flip over, but the point is that our tech specialist is standing over there, and he has coded Alpha with his cell phone using Bluetooth. That's what the world is going to. You have the power of the universe right here in your hand and your cell phones. And that is the Internet of Things that we are talking about. How do these sensors, how do these machines talk together? And more importantly, how do we fit in? At its core of automation is a basic unit. And that basic unit is called the circuit. And that's why we're introducing you to the circuit today. And we're looking forward to y'all having a great session. Now, next up, pictures to webinar@stemnola.com so we can show our sponsors and we can become very happy about the work that you're doing. My friend Kayla Taylor from Popsicle, Louisiana. Kayla, we have a STEM Saturday coming up in Baton Rouge. I hope you registered for it. If you didn't register for it, but you want to be in it, we are oversold. We are too many people, but guess what? You know me, so you'll get the hookup. I'll let you in, Kayla. Next up is Shalaya Washington from Shreveport, Louisiana. Shalaya, I hope you participated in our STEM Shreveport event this past Saturday. If not, make sure you get all the information for our next STEM Grambling or STEM Shreveport event. The Krasowski, my man Will from Louisville, Kentucky. Thank you and your brother for tuning in once again. I like that. I like what you all are doing. Okay. I thought Javen didn't send in a picture? Oh, Javen, I was looking for you, man. All right. Next up is my friend, Alex Marquardt. And Alex is an associate distribution engineer at CLECO Power, and he's a graduate of Louisiana Tech in electrical engineering. Alex has volunteered with STEM Nola before, so I'm happy to see him back. Alex.
Hey everyone, thanks for the introduction, Dr. Mackey. Like Dr. Mackey said, my name's Alex Marquardt. I graduated from Louisiana Tech University. I have a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering, and right now I work for CLECO Power. For those of you that aren't in the Louisiana area, CLECO Power kind of runs the power grid mainly in central Louisiana, but I'm in Mandeville, Louisiana, which is just north of Lake Pontchartrain from New Orleans. So yeah, I'm very excited to be here, still kind of learning stuff at my job at CLECO, but I'm very much enjoying it. So without kind of getting too much into what they have set up, I kind of want to start my presentation real quick by asking, what is a circuit, right? What do we think of when we think of a circuit? This obviously looks like a circuit, right? I mean, look at it, you know, it's got all the little microprocessor, all of that. I mean, think about what Dr. Mackey was talking about, you know, remember Alpha? He's full of circuits, right? All right, so let's think too. What about the wiring in your house, right? That's going to power your TV, your video game system, your washing machines, your lights. Are those circuits? Let's kind of take it up another notch, all right? What about the power lines outside? Is that part of a circuit? Guess what? Yes, they are all circuits. It's not just a fancy, you know, something on a fancy circuit board, right? So I want you to kind of, now that we kind of talked about that, let's think, how many circuits do you think you use in a day? Okay. And don't worry, you're not supposed to have an answer because I don't even have an answer, right? Circuits are everywhere. It's a part of modern day life. You know, I'm using my cell phone all the time. Like Dr. Mackey said, even with the pandemic, you know, everyone's using technology. You know, I'm using my cell phone all the time. I'm an engineer. There's circuits on this calculator. There's circuits everywhere. You probably would have to try really hard to not use a circuit throughout the day, right? So, going back to that question, what exactly is a circuit? Now, like I said, they have a really cool experiment and all sorts of activities for you guys, so I'm not going to spoil anything, but I'll basically tell you that the circuit is a path for which electricity can travel, right? So just like a train needs a track to travel on from point A to point B, electricity works the same way. A train's not going to go anywhere if it doesn't have a track, right? Just like electricity can't go anywhere if it doesn't have a circuit to travel on. So back to those examples that we were thinking of, the house, you know, this little thing, you know, Alpha, all those circuits. We have a lot of different sizes of circuits, right? There's some circuits that if you put it like on your finger, you need a microscope to look at it, to be able to see it, right? And then you even have some circuits that span over hundreds and hundreds of miles long, right? Think about the distribution grid or the entire transmission grid in the United States, right? That's a huge circuit. I mean, it's amazing to think about. So I'll bring it back to where I work. How do circuits kind of play into my career? Well, I work on the distribution side of things. You can kind of see in this diagram. We'll get into it a little bit, but I basically design and build circuits so that it can safely and reliably deliver power to end user customers, such as yourselves, like a house, a school, public building, anything like that, right? If you're not going home, if you're going home and you're flipping on a switch and that switch is not coming on, it's because of a design error, that falls on me, right? So kind of getting into this picture here, I just kind of want to go over real quick about how basically power gets from a generating station or a power plant all the way to your house, okay? So as we're looking at this picture, you can see it's kind of split up into 3 different categories here, right? You have generation in red, and you got transmission in blue, and you got distribution in green, right? So let's start with the red. Okay, when you think of a generating station, most people kind of say a power plant, right? Now, generating stations, this is essentially the area or the section of the grid where we're applying force to electricity. This is where we're going to push electricity and create your electric flow, right? These generating stations, they can run on coal, natural gas. You have some nuclear stations. And what's the big thing that everyone's been talking about lately is renewable energy, right? You can have solar farms, wind farms, hydroelectric, right? Those are all types of generating stations. So we get this electricity, we apply force to it, right? We're going to push the electricity down so it'll eventually get to you, right? The next section that we have is called transmission. Transmission is everything you see here in blue, right? Transmission is basically how we're going to get power from the generating station to the distribution area, to a substation. We'll get into that in a second. So transmission can go from, the shortest one I've seen was a little less than a mile, but transmission lines can run for over 100 miles, which, good night, think about it. For those of us in Louisiana, that's the distance from New Orleans to Baton Rouge on I-10. That's a long way, right? So if you've ever noticed, and in a second, I'll be showing you some pictures of some examples, these giant steel structures that hold transmission lines, that is the transmission section of this circuit, of this grid that I work in. So basically we have the electricity that's flown down the transmission from generation, and it gets to what we call the substation. The substation is basically where my field begins with distribution. This is where we're going to kind of knock the power down a little bit so that we can get the electricity from the substation to your home, to your business, to your school, whatever. So what do we think of whenever we kind of think of distribution? Well, remember how I was talking about the transmission structures? They're huge, they're big. No, remember, think about what like the power poles are like at your, in your neighborhood, in your town, wherever you live. They're about like 30, 40 feet tall. They're typically wooden, right? You can see the power lines right there. They run down the street. So once you get from the substation, they're going to travel down these lines along these poles. And on occasion, on some of these poles, you might see this thing mounted up there that kind of looks like a trash can. I'll be showing you a picture of this in a second. What we call, that's actually a transformer. And I'm sorry, y'all, it doesn't transform into a car or a dinosaur like the movies. No, what this transformer does is it's going to pull electricity from the distribution line that we're talking about, everything in green here, and it's going to deliver it to the house. There's typically a line, it'll go overhead or underground to the house, to the business, up into your electric meter. So that's kind of everything that I kind of deal with here. Keelan, if we could go to the next slide. So remember how we were talking about transmission? This is an example of a transmission line here, right? So this transmission line is, I can venture that this is probably a 100 kilovolt transmission line that travels probably over 100 miles. They're huge. There's, you'll see these a lot in rural areas. This is what's connecting the generation station to the substation. So if you go to the next slide. And right here, remember how we talked about the substation? So it's going to take the electricity from that transmission line, and it's going to bring it here to this substation. So the substation is what's going to turn it from the transmission to distribution. And then if we can go to the next slide, which will be the last one I got here. This is an example of, the distribution line. You can see those two lines there. That's part of the power lines. And look, remember how we were talking about the trash can, right? There's the trash can right there. That's a transformer. That's what's pulling everything from the power line off that distribution pole, and it's going to bring it to your house or business, and that's what's going to deliver you power. So this is just kind of some examples of how all this works and how we get into it and what I deal with. So, all right, let's take a second. Let's breathe. I kind of threw a lot of information at you. I've probably been talking for about 8 or 9 minutes just about, stuff that might be kind of boring, but I just want to congratulate y'all, because now you just learned how electricity gets from a power plant or generating station down transmission to a substation to distribution lines into your house. So congratulations. A lot of people don't know that. And if you can imagine the size of this circuit, you can start to appreciate that all the labor, all the engineering that goes into make, build, and maintain these, especially down here in South Louisiana, we have a lot of storms, all the work it takes to restore all this power once, things get knocked down. So next time you're in the car, or you're on the school bus, or maybe you're even just walking with mom and dad down the street in the neighborhood, I want you to kind of take a look, just kind of notice the power lines up there, because we see them every day and we don't kind of notice it. You can start to appreciate. You can even tell your mom and dad, hey, look, that's a transmission line. That guy Alex told me about that. Oh, hey, see that trash can up there? That's a transformer. It's delivering power from the power pole. So I do want to make a little disclaimer that whenever we do look at these things and we do notice it, there's a lot of cool stuff, but you need to also remember to keep your distance. A lot of these structures, these things I talk about, I work with voltages that are very high and very dangerous. So you never want to go close to power line, to any sort of transformer, anything like that. If you ever see anything wherever you live, a power line down, a transformer down, or something doesn't seem right, you should call your local authorities, call the power company, call the police. They need to know that something's down, because that can be essentially pretty dangerous. So with that being said, I know I'm kind of running out of time here. I love to discuss how I got to where I'm at. If anyone wants to talk about engineering, I don't know. I heard there might be a Q&A at the end of this session. If you're interested, I'll be staying on towards the end. I'd love to answer any questions that you may have. So thanks, everyone. I really appreciate y'all having me on.
Great. Thank you, Alex. You did an amazing job. I said, Alex is having fun. Thank you. And I won't be here at the end, Alex, so if you can hang out and they may have some questions at the end, that'd be a great way to end. Thank you, CLECO, for allowing your employees to give back community, and thank you, Alex, for giving back. Parents, at STEM Nola, we believe we've created a high-functioning STEM community. And a high-functioning STEM community, we believe, is child-centered, adult-governed, elder-ruled, meaning that we focus on the K-12 students. We surround the K-12 students with college students whom we pay. And then we surround the college students with STEM professionals, and we call that vertical mentoring. So that's why we bring people like Alex on, so your scholar get to see someone in the area, in the career, it is their profession, making a living, paying their bills, going to school. That's the end result. But then we bring in our college students, our college interns, and recent college graduates who are on our staff now to deliver the program. And so we can see ourselves in all these situations. And I'm going to introduce our staff member soon who's going to deliver today, but I want to tell you about what's coming up at STEM Nola. This Saturday, we have STEM Nola STEM Saturday that's open to the nation. And we'll be talking about the art of STEM, Mardi Gras, the art of STEM. If you ever seen a float, like during Mardi Gras, is like a big mechanical piece of art. So everything that we can imagine goes into these floats, from the lights to the mechanical pieces to the robotic arms. And at STEM Nola, we celebrate Mardi Gras by having a Art of STEM Day where our scholars build floats. And I hope that some of you all got to register, because it's one of the most sought after days when we open it up, and the registration filled quickly. So I hope you got in. But this is an example of the float that students will build. It's just one example. And the beautiful part about it, you get a free remote control truck when you participate in the float day. And then I don't know if you can see the lights flashing, but we have the chemiluminescence lights, and you can make all different type of designs. And we have 10 different float designs, and each kit has a different float design in it. But you learn about the chemiluminescence and the biomimicry in society, in nature, and show you how we looked at animals beneath the, like in the ocean, that light up, and that's how they got the idea for LED lights. And that's chemical and electricity together. And you talk about circuits again. Then you build this float, which is a big piece of art. And then we usually have a parade around a big gym. But this year, we're just going to say, decorate your float, send us pictures, and we're going to pick a winner who has the most creative float. And then the week after that, February 20th, we're having a big event in Baton Rouge, STEM Baton Rouge, with Cox Communication. Cox Communication is one of the cable distributors here. And students will make a traffic light in honor of Black History Month, because the traffic light was invented by African-American inventor Garrett Morgan. So we're gonna celebrate some African-American inventors and learn about circuitry again and build a functional traffic light. And this light actually works. If I don't knock it down, but you can see the light changing colors: green, yellow, red. So during the summer, we actually have a coding camp where you actually code this on an Arduino and take it to the whole nother level. So remember, we have to wear our masks during COVID. And remember, if you get a chance to get your vaccine. But next up, we have our STEM Nola staff member and former college intern, Kennedy Greenwood. Kennedy started working here as like a freshman in college. Now she's gone all the way through college and graduated. I'm like, wow, I'm getting old. So Kennedy went to Southeastern Louisiana University, where she got a BS in kinesiology. Did I get it right? I used a big word, in kinesiology. That's what she got a degree in. And Kennedy will be talking to you today about circuits, all right? I'm gonna have to run out at the end, and I also want to mention, Alex said we have a lot of storms here. We're actually having storms today. So if the cable go down, the internet or Wi-Fi go down, y'all hang on, we'll get back on. But look like the worst of the weather has stopped, so we're here to stay, hopefully. Y'all have a great one, and thank you for tuning in. I'm Dr. Calvin Mackey. Here's Kennedy. I'm gonna move all this stuff.
Hey y'all, I'm Kennedy, as Dr. Mackey introduced me, and I will be leading today's session, and our topic is, as he also said, circuits. So we're gonna start by going over our agenda just to see what's on the list for today. Okay, so first on our list, we have a set of vocabulary terms, and these vocabulary terms are just terms that'll be mentioned pretty frequently throughout our session. So it's important that you all have a good understanding of them. Next, we will move on to our objectives and activity questions. These activity questions are just a list of questions we ask you to keep in mind when performing this experiment. And then we'll move on to the fun part, our actual build. And today we will be building a edible circuit and a popsicle stick flashlight. You guys can have a look. Can we switch to the other camera? It's okay. This is our edible circuit. And this is our popsicle stick flashlight. And lastly, we will go over and answer those activity questions mentioned earlier. Okay, so vocabulary. A circuit, what is a circuit? A circuit is a closed path that allows electricity to flow from one point to another. Now, the next 3 terms on our vocabulary list are actually different types of circuits, so I'm going to explain them to you and give you all a little example to help you better understand the difference between them. So the first is a closed circuit. A closed circuit is an electric circuit without interruption, and it provides a continuous path through which a current can flow. So an example of a closed circuit would be a video camera that is connected to a TV, and the TV displays the images that the video camera is capturing. Next on our list, we have a series circuit. A series circuit provides exactly one path between any 2 points for an electric current, and a break in the circuit prevents the current flow. An example of a series circuit would be Christmas lights. When you have one light that's broken or busted, it stops the others from working because a current cannot flow through a broken circuit. And last on our list, we have a parallel circuit, which is an electric circuit in which the current flows through more than one path. A break in the circuit does not prevent the flow of the current. So an example of a parallel circuit would be the wiring system of your house. You have one single power source that supplies power to the entire house, but if one light bulb blows out, it does not stop the current from flowing to the other lights and appliances. Okay, so now for our first question. Every circuit must have a water source, B, a power source or a battery, or C, oxygen, an oxygen source. So I'm gonna give you all a few seconds to think about that and answer the question. Oh, you guys are getting it right. Oh, congratulations. A few more people are answering. And you guys did awesome, good job. And the correct answer was power source / battery. Next, we're going to move on to our objectives. And our objectives are that by the end of this session, you'll be able to understand the meaning of the terms circuit, closed circuit, series circuit, and parallel circuit. And you will also be able to apply them to our experiment correctly. And you will also learn how to build your own popsicle stick flashlight and edible circuit. Okay, so what are we building today? A popsicle stick circuit and an edible circuit. B, a heart, or C, a race car. I think you guys should get this one pretty easily. The hint is still on the screen also if you need help. Yep, you guys are getting it right. Alrighty, awesome. And the correct answer was a popsicle stick circuit and an edible circuit. So the questions of the day, these are the questions that we ask you to keep in mind when performing this experiment, and we'll go over and talk about them at the end. But number 1 is, what was the power source of our popsicle stick flashlight? Number 2, what happened when the metal prongs on the binder clip reached the battery? And 3, what part of the edible circuit represents the conductors or the wires? Okay, so now on to building our first activity. So the first thing we're going to be building is a popsicle stick flashlight, and I showed it to you all earlier, but just to have another look, this is what it should look like once it's complete. So the materials you'll need for this experiment include a popsicle stick, two copper wires, 1 3-volt coin battery, a binder clip, a LED light, and tape. So while you all are gathering those materials, I'm going to explain to you a little bit of the science behind this experiment. So every circuit essentially is made up of 4 parts. The wires, which conduct electricity from point A to point B. And for the sake of this experiment, our conductors or wires are our copper wires. a power source, which provides power to our device or load. And in this case, our power source will be our battery. The load, which is the thing we are trying to power, and for the sake of this experiment, it would be our LED light, and our switch, which turns our circuit on and off. And in this case, it will be our binder clip. So hopefully now that everyone has gathered their materials, we can move on to the fun part and actually build it. So the first thing we're going to do is take our coin battery and test our LED light to make sure it's working correctly. And you're just going to do this by putting your battery directly between the metal prongs on your LED light. And it should light up immediately, but if it doesn't, it just means that your LED light is on the wrong side of the battery. So switch it, just like so, and we're all good. So now that we've checked to make sure our battery is working, we can start building. So the first thing we're going to do is take our popsicle stick and place it in between the prongs on our LED light so that it lies on the front and back side, just like this. And the next thing we're going to do is take our copper wires and attach them to the prong on our LED light. So guys, for this step, it's important to make sure that the copper wire and the LED light are touching directly, because it will not work if they're not connected correctly. Trust me, I know. And once you have it secure, we're going to tape it down. And it's best to use a small piece of tape because we will need to do the exact same thing to the other side. And we don't want any pieces of tape lying in between our prong and our copper wire, because once again, that would stop the experiment from working correctly. So just to catch anyone up who's just now joining us or just now gathering their materials, all we've done so far is attach our LED light and our copper wires to our popsicle stick, and it should look like so. So the next thing we're going to do is attach our binder clip to the bottom of our popsicle stick. Now your copper wires may hang a little long, and that's okay. The binder clip should cover them up. But if your copper wires are connected underneath the binder clip, it will not work. So it's okay if you need to cut them. Now, once we've done that, we're going to take our final step, which is taking the coin volt battery and placing it in between the copper wire and the binder clip, and it will turn on just like this. Now, you do have the option to tape the coin volt battery down once you have completed this step, but it does keep the flashlight on, meaning your battery will run out eventually. So this is what it should look like, guys. You may have to press it to keep it on. Okay, so now that that's done, we can, I'm sorry.
Walk through the steps again.
Oh, okay. So just to reiterate everything that we've done, we've just taken our LED light, placed the popsicle stick in between the prongs, attached our copper wires to either side of the popsicle stick and to either side of the prongs, attach our binder clip to the bottom of our popsicle stick, and attach our volt battery to our binder clip. And like I said, guys, I'm not trying to keep mine on, but you can by taping it. And it should look just like this. Okay, so now hopefully everyone has completed that, and we're going to move on to our second activity, which is building an edible circuit. So for the edible circuit, you'll need sour straws, icing, graham crackers, gumdrop, toothpicks, a Hershey bar / nugget, and a chocolate chip. So while you all are gathering the materials for that, I can explain to you a little bit of the science behind this experiment. Basically, in this experiment, each piece of candy represents a different part of a circuit. The parts that we discussed earlier, such as the load or the device, the conductors and the wires, the battery or the power source, and the switch. So once we build our edible circuit, I'll go into a little more detail about exactly what each thing represents. Also, guys, I recommend getting a paper plate and some napkins because this activity can be somewhat messy. I'm going to start by taking my graham cracker and putting icing on one side of 2 graham crackers. And it's okay if your graham crackers are a little broken. They don't have to be perfect. And you guys can use any color icing you want. So what the graham crackers represent is a circuit board on which we'll build our circuit on top of. And this is exactly why I said do it on a paper plate and get napkins, guys, because as you can see, this does get messy. Alrighty, so once we have completed that, the next thing we're going to do is apply our battery. So in this case, our battery is our Hershey's Nugget. So what we're going to do is place that in the top right corner of our right circuit board or right graham cracker. Just like this. And that's our battery or our power source. And the next thing we're going to do is place our load or device. So in this case, our load or device that we're trying to power would be an LED light, which for the sake of today's experiment is going to be a gumdrop. So we're just going to take our toothpicks and stick those in the bottom of our gumdrop and apply that to the top left side of our left circuit. And you may have to push it in, and that's okay. So for anyone who's just not catching up or just not getting their materials, all we've done so far is take 2 graham crackers, ice one side of each, add our Hershey Nugget, which is our power source, and add our gumdrop, which is our load or device. And next, we're going to take our Hershey's Kiss and place it underneath the gumdrop on our left circuit board. And this is the switch. This is what's going to turn our edible circuit on and off. So the last step is to connect all of this so that it will turn on. So we're going to take our sour straws and lie those parallel to one another so that they connect circuit board A to circuit board B. And then we're going to take our last sour straw and break it into 2 smaller pieces so that we can attach our battery to our other wires and our gumdrop to our switch. And guys, everything in this edible circuit obviously is completely edible, but please ask your parents before eating anything. So once we have added our sour straws, our edible circuit is now complete. And this would be the point if it were an electric circuit, it would turn on, but for the sake of today's experiment, it will not. And we love to see what you guys' flashlight popsicle stick and edible circuits look like. So if you have any pictures, please feel free to email them to webinar@stemnola.com. So now back to those activity questions we discussed earlier. So we're going to go over these. Number 1, what was the power source of our popsicle stick flashlight? Was it A, the popsicle stick, B, the coin battery, or C, the binder clip? Now for this, it might be helpful to pull out your popsicle stick, but I will show you mine just to give you a hint. So think about what turns it on, what's giving our LED light its power. Oh, you guys are getting it right. Great, and the answer was coin battery. The coin battery was the power source of our popsicle stick flashlight. Okay, on to number 2. What happened when the metal prongs on the binder clip reached the battery? Did it A, turn the light on, B, nothing, or C, the light turned off? I think you guys know this one, but here, I'll give you another hint. What happens when I remove the binder clip from the battery? All righty, I'm gonna give you guys a few more seconds. So, majority of you got this one right. The light turned on when the metal prongs on the binder clip reach the battery. When they touch, it turns on. So there's an explanation for that. And number 3, what part of the edible circuit represents the conductors or the wires? So to help you all on this one, I will show you my edible circuit. So when answering this question, I just want you to keep in mind, what do you think connects circuit board A to circuit board B? Oh, you guys are getting it right again. Y'all are so smart. All righty, great job, guys. And the answer was sour straws. So I believe Mr. Alex said he was staying on in case anyone had any questions, or does anyone have any questions for me? No?
I did get one question coming through the Q&A chat, if you'd like for me to answer that.
Sure, go ahead.
Sure. Well, we got a question that came through that was asking, what is the cord that sticks in the ground? And they were talking about the cord from the pole. Now, if you notice on a pole, you're going to have a copper rod coming down. And remember how Miss Kennedy was saying that when you made your circuit, it had to go in a circular flow, right? When these circuits go in a circular flow, you have basically on the return section, we like to call that the ground, right? So when in my world, as opposed to the circuit y'all just made, I'm dealing with voltages that are can be 35,000 volts, which is very high. And again, let me remind you, very dangerous. So basically, in order for the return to happen, it needs to know, the electricity needs to know where voltage is equal to 0. In our world, where you're dealing with very high voltages, the point at which voltage equals 0 is actually the ground. That's why they call it the ground. In Europe, they actually call it earth. So in a nutshell, that's essentially where you would imagine the electricity would be flowing around in a circle. So that's why you see those cords on the side of the pole. It's typically a long copper rod that you can check it out. And don't worry, that part is safe. There's shouldn't be any electricity, but always practice caution. So thank you for the question. I appreciate that.
Great. Are there any more questions? No, I do not believe so. Okay, so as Dr. Mackey said, we'll be having another live session next Thursday, and our topic will be biology. It will be Thursday, February 18th at 4 p.m. So if you would like to register, please go to stemnola.com. And once again, we would really love to see you all's pictures, so please email them to webinar@stemnola.com. And thank you. That's been great. Thanks, everyone.